On the night of June 1, 2001, one of the world's oldest royal families was nearly wiped out. Not by a foreign invasion, not by a civil war, but from inside the palace itself. In just a few shocking minutes, 9 members of Nepal's royal family lay dead. What makes this story even more disturbing is this. For 3 days, Nepal was ruled by a king who was already dead. This is the true story of the Nepal Royal Massacre, one of the most shocking and mysterious incidents in modern history. Before 2001, Nepal was a Hindu constitutional monarchy ruled by the Shah dynasty, a royal line that had governed the country for over 240 years. At the heart of this dynasty was King Birendra Bikram Shah. King Birendra was widely respected, both in Nepal and on the international stage. He was known as a peaceful, educated monarch who genuinely believed in democracy and stability for his people. The royal family resided in the Narayan-Hiti Royal Palace in Kathmandu, a heavily guarded fortress. It's a symbol of power, tradition, and most of all, secrecy. Every month, the royal family held a private gathering inside the palace. This was an exclusive affair, so only close family members were ever allowed. No outsiders, no media, definitely no recordings. What happened during one of these gatherings would change the course of Nepal forever. It was a night that would forever be etched in Nepal's history as a moment of unimaginable horror. June 1, 2001. Inside the Narayan-Hiti Royal Palace in Kathmandu, a family gathering was underway. This wasn't just any family. This was the revered royal family of Nepal, a lineage that had ruled for centuries. King Birendra, Queen Aishwarya, and their children were beloved by the nation, seen as symbols of stability and tradition. But in a single, terrifying evening, this idyllic image would be shattered, plunging the country into a state of shock and disbelief from which it has never fully recovered. What happened behind those palace walls? The official story is as shocking as it is tragic, but it's a story that many Nepalese people still refuse to believe. Let's set the scene. On the evening of June 1, 2001, the royal family gathered as they always did. Present that night were King Birendra, Queen Aishwarya, their children Crown Prince Dipendra, Prince Narayan, and Princess Shruti, along with several other close royal relatives. The central figure in this story is Crown Prince Dipendra, who was 29 years old, educated at Eton, and popular with the public. But behind the scenes there was tension. For years, Dipendra had been in a serious relationship with a woman named Devyani Raina. He wanted to marry her. But his parents, particularly his mother, Queen Aishwarya, strongly disapproved. The reasons were complex, tied to family lineage, clan rivalries, and astrological predictions. The queen had reportedly given her son an ultimatum: give up Devyani or give up the throne. This conflict had been brewing for a long time and was a significant source of stress for the crown prince. According to eyewitness accounts from survivors, as the evening progressed, Prince Dipendra began drinking heavily. He was also reportedly smoking cigarettes laced with an unspecified substance. His behavior became erratic. He was seen stumbling and slurring his words. At one point, he was so intoxicated that his brother Niragan and a cousin had to help him to his bedroom to sleep it off. It seemed like an embarrassing but manageable end to his night. But it was only the beginning. About an hour later, Dipendra re-emerged, but he was no longer in his party clothes. He was dressed in military fatigues and was carrying multiple automatic weapons, including an MP5K submachine gun and an M16 rifle. What happened next was a scene of pure chaos and carnage. Without a word, he walked into the billiard room where his father, King Birendra, was sitting and opened fire. Dipendra suddenly opened fire on his own family. The scene descended into chaos and horror. Within minutes, King Birendra was shot and killed. Queen Aishwarya was murdered as she tried to escape the carnage. Prince Narayan and Princess Shruti were also gunned down. In total, 9 members of the royal family were assassinated in cold blood. He shot his father in the neck and abdomen. Panic erupted. Guests screamed and scrambled for cover as the crown prince moved methodically through the room, targeting his own family members. He shot his uncle, Prince Dhirendra, who tried to intervene and stop him. He shot his aunts, Princess Sharada and Princess Shanti. He pursued others who tried to flee. The gunfire was relentless. After the initial volley, Dipendra went outside and reloaded. When he came back in, his mother, Queen Aishwarya, and his younger brother Niyarajan, confronted him at the top of a staircase. They pleaded with him to stop. Instead, he shot them both. He gunned down his own mother and brother in cold blood. In total, Dipendra shot and killed 9 members of his family. The victims included his father, the king, his mother, the queen, his brother and sister, and several aunts and uncles. It was a complete decimation of the main royal line. After carrying out the massacre, Dipendra walked out into the palace garden, near a small bridge over a stream, and turned a gun on himself, shooting himself in the head. The immediate aftermath was pure confusion. The wounded were rushed to the military hospital, but for most, it was too late. King Birendra and most of the others were declared dead on arrival. Crown Prince Dipendra, however, was still alive, though comatose from his self-inflicted wound. And here's where the story takes another bizarre and tragic turn. According to Nepalese law, the crown automatically passes to the heir. So for 3 surreal days, the man who had just massacred his entire family lay in a coma as the official king of Nepal. He never regained consciousness and was declared dead on June 4th. The throne then passed to King Birendra's brother, Gyanendra, who had conveniently not been at the party that night. His own wife and son were there and were injured, but they survived. Gyanendra was the one who announced to the nation what had happened, stating that the deaths were the result of an accidental discharge of an automatic weapon. This explanation was so unbelievable that it was met with immediate public outrage and suspicion. The Nepalese people, who deeply loved King Birendra, couldn't fathom that his own son would do such a thing. Riots broke out in Kathmandu. Curfew was imposed. Under immense public pressure, a 2-man investigation committee was formed. Led by the Chief Justice and the Speaker of the House, they interviewed over 100 people, including palace staff, security guards, and the surviving royals. Their official report, released 2 weeks later, concluded that a drunk and drugged Crown Prince Dipendra was solely responsible for the massacre. The motive cited was the dispute with his parents over his marriage choice. The report detailed his movements, the weapons he used, and the sequence of events, all confirming the narrative of a prince who snapped. But for a huge portion of the Nepalese population, this official story has never been enough. The accidental discharge claim had already destroyed the government's credibility. How could one man, no matter how skilled, single-handedly kill so many people, including trained bodyguards, without any resistance? Why was security so lax? The biggest question mark of all hung over the new king, Gyanendra. He was the primary beneficiary of the tragedy. He had a reputation for being ambitious and was far less popular than his brother. The fact that his immediate family was largely unharmed while Birendra was wiped out fueled countless conspiracy theories. These theories are widespread and varied. Some claim that Dipendra was already dead when he was brought to the hospital and the coma was a sham. Others suggest that the real assassins were masked intruders, possibly agents working for Gyanendra or even foreign intelligence agencies. One popular theory points to a supposed second shooter, someone who looked like Dipendra, to create confusion. The fact that a full autopsy was never performed on Dipendra's body and that the palace was demolished years later has only added to the mystery in the sense that evidence was destroyed. Devyani Rana, the woman at the center of the dispute, fled to India immediately after the event and has remained largely silent, which some interpret as suspicious. The truth is, we may never know with absolute certainty what happened on June 1st, 2001. The official report, based on eyewitness testimony, paints a clear picture of a family tragedy driven by love, rejection, and rage. But the lingering questions and the deep-seated distrust in the official narrative have allowed conspiracy theories to flourish. The massacre didn't just end a family, it ended a dynasty. The event severely damaged the reputation of the monarchy. The night of the royal massacre remains a dark, open wound in the heart of the nation. A tragic story where the official truth feels stranger and more terrible than any fiction. The investigation itself was shockingly brief, lasting only a few days. There were no forensic reconstructions shown to the public. No international investigators were involved, and very few witness testimonies were ever released. The case was officially closed. But for many people, the so-called answers only created more questions. Even today, many Nepalis and historians worldwide remain deeply skeptical of the official story. Some of the biggest unanswered questions still hang in the air. How could a single person, even with multiple weapons, shoot so many people without any resistance? Why were the highly trained security forces completely unable to intervene in time? Why was the investigation concluded with such haste? And why were so many key details kept confidential from the public? Conspiracy theories began to swirl almost immediately. Some people believe that Dipendra was framed, that he was a scapegoat for a much larger plot. Others suspect a political conspiracy, pointing fingers at those who stood to gain from the royal family's demise. But no theory has ever been proven, and the case has never been reopened. The truth, it seems, remains locked away like a dark secret buried deep inside a royal vault. The massacre had devastating consequences for the monarchy. Public trust, which had been eroding for some time, was completely shattered. The institution was seen as unstable and secretive. Within 7 years of the tragedy, Nepal abolished its monarchy entirely. The country officially became a republic in 2008. A powerful institution that had ruled for centuries came to a crashing end because of one horrifying night of bloodshed. The Nepal Royal Massacre is not just a historical tragedy. It's a chilling reminder that even the most powerful and protected families can fall, not from an outside threat, but from within. To this day, the full truth of what happened on June 1st, 2001 remains unknown. And perhaps it was never meant to be revealed. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as we did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more stories from history's hidden vaults.